June 1944, dawn on the Seine, just west of Paris. A thin mist clings to the black water like breath on steel. The air smells of wet clay and cordite. A lone German pioneer, Feldwebel Karl Richter, stands on the ruined stone arch of Pont de Vernon, binoculars pressed to his eyes. Behind him, the skeletal remains of a once proud 150-meter fixed bridge lie twisted in the current, blasted apart by retreating Wehrmacht demolition squads only 48 hours earlier. Richter's orders are simple: deny the river to the Allies. Yet across the water, in the half-light, he sees movement. Shadows of men, the clank of metal, the low growl of bulldozers. By the time the sun burns through the haze, a bridge already carries Sherman tanks, where none had stood the night before. This was no miracle of engineering genius born in the moment. It was the Bailey Bridge, conceived in 1940 by a British civil servant who sketched its first lines on the back of an envelope, refined in secrecy at the experimental bridging establishment in Christchurch, and now rolling forward in endless prefabricated sections aboard American trucks. To the German General Staff, rivers had always been strategic pauses, natural moats that bought days, sometimes weeks. The Seine, the Rhine, the Maas, each a calculated delay in the calculus of retreat. Yet here, in the space of a single night, the pause collapsed. Richter's battalion belonged to the 21st Panzer Division's Pioneer Company, veterans of the Vistula, the Dnieper, the Bug. Their standard equipment included the Karl Gerät 60-ton bridge sections, each requiring a crane, a full platoon, and 6 to 8 hours of daylight assembly under perfect conditions. War Diary Entry, 7th of June, 1944, 7th Army. Fixed bridging across the Seine will require minimum 72 hours once equipment is in position. Enemy air superiority renders daytime work impossible. The arithmetic was merciless. By contrast, a single U.S. Army Combat Engineer Company, 12 trucks, 40 men, 1 officer, could span 120 feet of water in under 4 hours. Official British record, 21st Army Group. 15th August 1944. Bailey M2, triple single configuration, 180-foot clear span, erected 03.17 to 06.52. Traffic flowing 07:05. The numbers humiliated the engineers more than any battlefield defeat. Richter expected the Americans to falter. He had studied their manuals captured at Kasserine. Crude, over-reliant on machinery, wasteful. He pictured them bogged down in the mud of Normandy, cursing as their half-tracks sank axle-deep. Instead, he watched them work with the calm of men assembling a child's toy. Panels clicked into transoms, transoms locked to stringers, stringers dropped onto rollers that slid forward on their own greased rails. No cranes, no shouted orders. Just the steady metallic heartbeat of pins hammered home. A GI paused to offer another a Hershey bar from his breast pocket. Chocolate. Real chocolate. Not the ersatz sawdust slabs that Richter had not tasted since 1941. The bar became the symbol, passed from hand to hand, bitten, laughed over, never rationed, never hoarded. In the lens of Richter's binoculars, that small brown rectangle mocked every lecture on Aryan discipline he had ever endured. By noon, the bridge carried not just tanks, but jeeps, ambulances, even a mobile canteen dispensing coffee thick with canned milk. German artillery observers on the far ridge logged the flow. 240 vehicles in the first 6 hours. Their own counterattack, scheduled for dusk, never launched. The river had already surrendered. Captured the next day, Richter's notebook contained a single underlined sentence: "They build faster than we can destroy." The transformation was subtler than steel. In the pioneer companies of the Wehrmacht, pride had always rested on precision. Every rivet, every calculation, every hour accounted for. The Bailey stripped that pride bare. It was not superior metallurgy. The steel was ordinary mild, the tolerances generous. It was abundance made structural. The British produced 2,500 Bailey units per month by mid-1944. The Americans added another 1,800 under Lend-Lease. War Production Board figures. Total steel allocated to bridging, 1944, 490,000 tons. Enough to span the Rhine 20 times over. German monthly output of comparable heavy sections, 38 units. The gap was not courage, not even ingenuity. It was the quiet arithmetic of democracy. Factories untouched by bombs, workers fed on wheat and sugar, engineers free to fail and try again. Richter's commanding officer, Oberstleutnant Hans von Luck, later wrote in his memoir, "We measured our worth by scarcity. They measured theirs by surplus. The bridge was the proof." Von Luck watched from a church tower as a second Bailey went up beside the first, redundant, almost insulting in its excess. That night, he ordered the demolition of his own remaining pontoons. They were no longer weapons, only relics. The Hershey bar reappeared in memory long after the war. In 1959, Richter, now a civilian surveyor in Hamburg, received a parcel from an American veteran whose name he never learned. Inside, one unopened bar, wartime wrapper intact, and a photograph of the Seine Bridge taken at sunrise. On the back, a single line, "Still standing, still sweet." Richter kept the bar on his desk until it crumbled to dust, a private monument to the moment his ideology cracked. Years later, historians would tally the Bailey's reach, 2,000 major spans in northwest Europe alone, from the Seine to the Elbe. Each carried the same lesson etched in rust and rivets. Freedom is not the absence of obstacles, but the presence of options. The river that once divided armies now linked them in memory, its surface reflecting not just sky, but the quiet triumph of plenty over precision, of shared chocolate over solitary sacrifice. And somewhere beneath the hum of modern traffic, the faint echo of a hammer on steel still reminds the world that a bridge built overnight can outlast the empire that tried to burn it down.